Good evening and welcome once again to the Canadian Orthodox Monastery. I think we're going to have a little problem with our lighting perhaps this evening, but we'll do the best we can with it. I'm trying to set the camera up a little now and change it. Yeah, a number of people have commented on the when I'm wearing my kamalafka and veil, which I try to do usually when I'm broadcasting, have asked about the veil on the monastic habit. And actually the veil and this flaps that come down on the side originated at the time of the First Ecumenical Council. And the reason was that many of the representatives or delegates who went to the First Ecumenical Council had suffered under the persecutions. And some of them had been branded on the face, burned severely, had had their ears cut off, and some had had even an eye ripped out or something during the persecutions. And it was quite unsightly, and they wore this veil over their hat in order to cover these terrible scars that had been inflicted during the persecutions. And the monastics then began to wear a veil like this in commemoration of those first century martyrs, and the ones who'd been tortured and not killed, but in any case had faced martyrdom. And monasticism was conceived as a form of martyrdom, and so the veil became a part of monastic attire. It's not worn all the time, usually liturgically, or when we're making a formal presentation of some kind. We always wear it when we're in church. And so it became just a fixed part of the monastic attire. So I thought some of you might be interested in that and in understanding why we wear this veil and where it came from. Also, you'll notice that we have a different backdrop here in the Heiko Schlepper icon gallery at the monastery. And behind me, you'll see parts of the 12 great feast days that Heiko Schlepper had painted. And these icons, again, were all done for the 2000th anniversary of Christianity exhibit at the Museum of Man, the Provincial Museum of Man in Edmonton, Alberta. The exhibit, of course, sponsored by the government of Alberta, and the massive work that Heiko Schlepper did for this exhibit, we're so blessed that Heiko wanted the whole collection kept here at the monastery in this gallery. And that's why they're here today, that people can actually see and appreciate the work that he had done. This evening there are a couple of things that I wanted to touch upon. Those of you who haven't seen the broadcast before, I have to look away at the computer sometimes to see how much time I have left in order to gear myself, because we have only 10 minutes per broadcast. And I'll probably do at least 2 broadcasts this evening. But when St. Hezekiel the priest, in his writing in the Philokalia, reminds us how David the prophet in the Psalms had said that his eyes looked upon his enemies, and that his ears had heard the wickedness of his enemies and those who rise up against him. Now, Ezekiel phrases this as, "I've seen my spiritual enemies, the ones who are spiritually against me." And this, of course, means the evil one, or people who would function on behalf of the evil one. Now, I had been asked a question about this. When David says that my ear shall hear, is he talking about just the demons? Or is he talking about people who are acting on behalf of the demons? Well, as a matter of fact, both, but particularly people who act on behalf of the demons. And Apostle Paul gives us a list of people who wouldn't enter into the heavenly kingdom. And what does he mention, among other things? People who gossip, people who slander, people who backbite, people who, with their tongues, harm, hurt, or wound other people. Slander, of course, is by saying something that isn't true, but you want people to think it's true because you want to undermine the authority of someone or undermine the respect that people have for them. Gossip could be if you say something that is true and just talk about it in a way that's malicious, that might harm or cause pain to someone else. Now, in every case, the person is speaking themselves, but they're most certainly inspired by the devil. They're inspired by the evil one because what they're doing is evil. Satan, of course, likes to have gossip, slander, stories told about other people, backbiting, because they cause disunity. They can cause disunity in the church, and they can break a family apart. They can cause all kinds of harm and pain to other people. And of course, Satan rejoices in all these things. So if you find someone who's willing to listen to his inspirations and to carry out these deeds on his behalf, then he's bound to do them. So when the psalmist says that he's seen these enemies, seen the wickedness that they raise up against him, and seen other things taking place that okay, I have some updates coming on the computer and I couldn't stop them. The thing is that Satan has inspired people against David. Now, David is not the sort of person I might have wanted to live in the same neighborhood with, but David is a defender of the faith nonetheless. And of course, Satan doesn't care at all about that. David was very devoted to the Ark of the Covenant and to preserving the faith and keeping idolatry out of the kingdom of Judea and later out of Israel. And so Satan has motivated people to speak against him and to try to undermine him. So it happens constantly in our own life. In my travels over the last 30-some years since I was ordained, I think it's 38 years now or something like that, I've come across instances in universities, in the church of course, and in industries and corporations, where people will try to use slanders and gossip to undermine people who are perhaps in competition with them. Sometimes I've seen where two people or more are up for a promotion in a corporation, and one of the contenders will start slandering the other contenders. They'll have it whispered back to the man's wife, perhaps that he's having an affair with another woman or something, to cause turmoil at home, to throw him off at work, so that he'll be undermined in his competition for this advancement or a raise in salary or something. So these things are used everywhere, and they're very popular in the church too, and people want to perhaps undermine somebody for some reason. But the question of whether or not it's Satan or people, it's both, because Satan inspires people to carry out his work like this. And David is talking not just about himself, but about a multitude of situations in which Satan prompts people to carry on these slanders and gossip. But people who do that sort of thing, we're told, will never enter the heavenly kingdom. In fact, he classes them together with other kinds of immorality, because gossip and slander are immoral. Of course, that says a great deal about people who use the internet in the church, in the name of the church, and in the name of Orthodox Christianity, to create gossip and slander and backbite and malicious things. And I wonder, people who do those things on the internet in the name of the Orthodox Church, and to a certain degree using the name of Jesus Christ for their wickedness, I wonder if they ever think that they've deprived themselves of the heavenly kingdom by doing it.